For your safety, please ensure to read the full disclaimer located in the description below this video before you start your virtual training. Hi there, Brad here, fitness and sports instructor at PSV Borden. On today's video, I'm going to take you through some force prep, some tips and tricks to help you improve your performance on your force evaluation. Ensure you perform a proper warm-up as per the Force Ops manual before you begin. We're going to run over some tips and tricks on each of the components for the test to help you shave some seconds off, improve your time, and see your scores increase. For the force prep, we're going to do 5 to 7 sets of each component. You're going to do 5 to 7 times in each of the up, down, and hands up starting positions, walking back to the starting position, taking 1 minute of recovery after each 5 reps in each position. You're going to do 10 sandbag lifts with 1 minute of rest between sets, 1 fast set loaded and unloaded intermittent loaded shuttle with 1 minute rest in between sets, and 10 meters drag as fast as possible with 1 minute in between each set. You will perform 5 to 7 sets of each component before moving on to the next component. Focus on the tips and tricks that are given in each of the videos on each component to help make this the most effective workout that you can. For our warm-up, we're going to be doing movements that are in the warm-up in the Force Ops manual. We'll start with arm swings moving forward, followed by arm swings moving backward, pulling those shoulders back and down, opening up the chest. Arm swings across the chest. And arm swings up, overhead, and back down. From there, we'll involve the lower body, bringing the knees up. Following that, we'll kick the heels back, squeezing those hamstrings. From there, we'll go into Frankenstein. So kicking our leg up towards our opposite hand, taking a couple steps forward, and alternating sides. Throughout this warm-up, if you have the space to do so, we should be moving within a 20-meter surface as well as we go. We'll go into some jogging. So again, if you have that surface moving back and forth 20 meters, gradually increasing your speed. From there, we'll come into some jogging high knees, covering a distance of 20 meters. And then kicking the heels back, again, covering that 20-meter distance. After that, we'll do side shuffles, 10 meters in each direction. Following that, we'll do a karaoke. Again, 10 meters in each direction. So crossing your feet in front and behind. After that, we'll do some movement on the spot here. So reaching side bend, reaching up and across the body. Just holding it there for about 1 breath. And switching sides. Next, we'll come into some squats, pushing the hips back, making sure our spine is in a neutral position, knees track over top of our toes, heels stay glued to the ground. From here, we'll come into a lunge complex, so stepping forward and then taking that same leg and stepping backwards. So we're just pivoting off of one foot, doing a couple on each side, and then switching our pivot foot onto the other side. Same thing, foot steps forward, and then that foot steps backwards into reverse. From there, we'll come into side lunge. So taking a wide stance, we'll push the hips back first, bending one knee, straightening out the opposite leg, pushing up into that standing position again. From here, we're going to come into high plank, up on the hands, stepping one foot up beside our hands, taking the inside hand, reaching it up, looking up to the sky, bringing that foot back, and then switching sides. We'll do that a couple times on each side. Trying to rotate and look directly up. And lastly, we'll finish with some hand release push-ups. So taking the hands off the ground, pushing up into full extension and back down to the ground. First component we'll go over is the rushes, starting from the top position. Up on the hands, we want to drive the leg and knee forward, getting into that sprinter's position, taking a strong push off of our back leg. Key here is to try and drive the knee up as far as you can, placing the foot in between the hands, taking a strong push off into our full sprint. From there, we're going to repeat the process, this time with the hands on the ground, focusing more on pushing up into full extension with the arms, and then following through, driving the leg forward, again into our sprinter stance, pushing into our sprint. Next, we'll go through the full motion, hands off the floor, driving them hard into the ground, exploding up into our top position, driving the leg forward again, pushing hard into our sprint. Lastly, we'll focus on moving through the whole movement as quickly as possible, driving into the ground again, up into extension, while at the same time driving the leg forward, adding all the movements in together. For our sandbag lifts, we want to try and stay somewhere between a full squat and a half squat depth, while maintaining proper squat position. So again, somewhere between the full squat at the bottom, half squat at the top. We want to try and stay closer to the ground, as if we come up to full extension, it is costing us time and seconds on our test. We want to remember to keep proper posture through neutral spine and knees tracking over our toes. For the loaded shuttle, I prefer to use the cradle carry technique. It allows me to use momentum with my upper body on both sides. If I have the sandbag on my shoulder or in the strap carrying it down to my one side, I can only gain momentum with my opposite side. This allows me to stay more even and allows me to gain momentum by using my upper body and not just my lower body. Training technique we can use for our running, both in the loaded shuttle and the rushes, is to set a cone out in front of us that it shows us that when we should start to decelerate. Many times we are focused on our end line and it causes us to decelerate too soon. When we're running in these short distances, we want to run as fast as possible and for as long as possible. If I can decelerate closer to my end cone, that allows me to be running at a faster rate throughout the test and will give me a better result in the end. On our sandbag drag, we want to make sure that we position the bag properly before we begin dragging. I like to try and mash that sandbag right into my elbow crease, making sure my hands are in a firm grip on top of the bag, making sure that red strap is on the bottom, and keeping the bag up high throughout the drag. The lower the bag is, the more grip you rely on, and the harder the strain is on top of your bicep. For our stretch, we'll start in the upper back, just clasping the hands together, reaching out in front of you, trying to round out the upper back, pulling the shoulder blades apart. And then we'll do opposite, reaching behind, squeezing the shoulder blades together, pushing the chest out. Once we're done there, we can come down onto our side, bending that front leg out in front of us, taking the top leg, pulling the heel back, so we're stretching the quads, front of our thigh. All these stretches we should hold for about 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, we can switch on to our other side. Same thing, just bending that bottom leg out in front of us for our base, and then pulling the heel back to stretch our quads. From here we can sit up nice and tall, bringing one leg in, reaching out over top of our long leg, trying to keep that spine neutral position, stretching out the hamstrings. With this stretch, we can hold our breath and hold this, or as we inhale, holding our stretch, and then as we exhale, trying to reach just a little bit further, repeating that a few times. Switching legs. Again, inhale, holding that stretch, and then as we exhale, trying to reach just a little bit further. Next, we can stretch out the glutes. So just taking one foot over and across our opposite thigh, pulling the knee into the chest, holding there. Okay, we can release that stretch. Switching sides. Again, pull that knee in towards your chest. From here, we're going to come up onto one knee and we're going to stretch out our hip flexors. So trying to contract the core and the glutes, keeping them squeezed. And trying to think about pushing the bottom or scooping the bottom of your pelvis forward as opposed to just driving your whole body forward. So almost slightly leaning back with the upper body to push that pelvis forward underneath you. We can switch sides. Again, make sure we squeeze first, keep it contracted, and scoop the pelvis forward. From here, we'll stretch out our calves. So up in a high plank position, up on the hands, just pushing one heel down to the ground behind you, stretching out the calves, the bottom part of the back of our legs. And we can go on to the other side. Same thing. From here, we're going to stretch out that core. You can go on the forearms or up onto the hands, depending on your comfort level, how your low back is feeling. But you want to try and keep those shoulders back and down as we hold this. And from here, we'll come into a child's pose. So toes together, knees apart, reaching the hands out as far as you can, all the way out through the fingertips. I hope you found what we did on the videos here helpful and that it improves your force performance. Good luck on your future force evaluations.